go ahead and start recording at least, yeah, so that we can. Well, welcome everybody. I'm sure everybody will start trickling in. You're on speaker. Okay. Okay, that way we can see ourselves at least.
Should I look in here?
Doesn't matter really, because you're gonna be looking at my camera,
Oh,
like as I do. Okay, hello everybody. Okay, let's get started then. All right, well, welcome everybody. So again, I apologize for the audio issue because it's a very echo-like room, and this is not a studio. This is actually where she lives with her roommate, and we're having microphone trouble. So we had a workaround and using the camera mic. And it's working, but it doesn't sound as good as, like, let's say, last week when I had my own mic. Another thing I would like to point out is like I said, last week, we have challenges and we overcome challenges, right? So, this Debbie here, this is Debbie.
good morning.
Good morning, evening thing. So she has volunteered to be kind enough to model for us today. She does have to go to school, that's why you see her in the scrubs, right? Those laboratory nursing doctor scrub things. She has a medical school to attend. So we only have her for a short period of time. So normally we would teach first and then demonstrate what we learned, but today we're gonna go a little backwards. So if you're a little bit lost, that's okay. But we are going to be using the camera phone here and then we're gonna get started. You ready?
Yes.
One thing though, I was hoping that there'd be more sunlight. It's very early in the morning here, so the sun is just coming up, it's turning blue, so we don't have enough of those lights, so we're gonna use indoor lighting. The camera is really good, so it's really bright, the image,
Oh, yeah.
but it's actually pretty dark here, so once we switch to the camera phone, you will begin to see. All right, anyways, so we're gonna talk about your assignments and all of that, and what you guys did and what you guys uploaded later. So let's get started. Let me see if everything that we attached works. So we're gonna have both views, actually. They're gonna be able to see me, hopefully.
At the camera?
Yeah, we'll see. So let me just swap to the camera view
Whoa,
here.
that's so
and then
cool.
that's us right there. So hopefully they can see some of the things that I do. And this is her, hello. Anyways, so let's get started with a couple of things. So on the left side, whether you have Samsung or Android, on the left side here, you will see the settings for the camera. I'm gonna use RAW. Most of the cameras will allow RAW, but if you guys look at the settings, we'll talk about the settings later, but I want to show you that these settings are available. And right now, the iPhone is getting a little confused. If you notice, the menu is going back and forth, and that's because it's trying to figure out if this scene is too dark or light enough. So we'll get into that, but if you press this button here on the left, you can actually, oh, see, it just disappeared because no, it determined that there's enough light. That's what I'm talking about. It will go ahead and try and figure out the lighting for this. Oh, is it me or is it going in and out? Okay, must be the cable here. Hang on one second. Let me just make sure it's correct. Okay, we're back. Hopefully that doesn't happen too often. So just this alone, you can see the grid lines, I hope. It might, the resolution might be such that the grid line is not available or like you guys can't see it. But just this alone, even with the empty chair, if you notice, it looks actually pretty okay, but this is not the kind of photos we want, right? You have to take your time. First things first, when you take a photo of a person, you want to get to their eye line or around the eye line. Sure, right on it this way, right? And then you use your camera. If you don't have zoom, obviously you're gonna get close and far on your own. Now the problem with close is this, it begins to, if you notice, kind of warp the face a little bit. Let me show you what I mean. Let me take a photo of that. And then let me
Oh my gosh.
yeah, the zoom is pretty crazy on, especially on the new
Oh, yeah.
phones. Right, let me go further back, I'm probably off camera, really. And then try and get to your eye line. And then do the same thing with the rule of thirds here. Alright. So, not sure why it came out that way, but okay. So, let me just put it this way then. So if you notice the difference between the two cameras, even though it's the same rule of thirds, again, the main thing is the background. Notice on the non-zoom lens, the 1x, the background, there's a lot more of the background here. There's a lot more of the background, but when I do close up about the same amount on a zoom lens, the background is a lot more compressed. Not only that, if you notice, this is the problem of wide angle lens. How does it feel? Does this feel a little awkward?
Yeah,
So-
that look awkward.
So if you notice, for the person, the hair, what I want you to notice is the hair. The hair thins out on the sides, on the wider lenses. The wider you go, the more it will thin out. The zoom lenses makes everything a lot more voluminous, like it makes everything a lot more, if you will, pleasing to look at, and it also compresses the face, which shows a little more of the cheekbones or the contour, so it's a lot more pleasing photo. Now, why would you not want this? Because some people would argue, it's like, I like the fact that I see everything. The reason you don't want to do that is because of storytelling. When I say storytelling, we'll cover that later, but you wanna show less rather than more, because there's too much things to look at, it doesn't make a good photo. Let me give you another example here. We're gonna go super wide, so this is 0.5, look at that, I could practically see my toe. This is a crazy wide lens, and I'm really close to it, can you guys see from the camera? I'm pretty close in the camera view. Yeah, I see the window, all of the windows. Look at my arm, look how much it stretches. Problem with the widest lenses is that it stretches all the sides, right? Look at my arm. It warps the sides, so you have to be careful when you use a wide. But let's say I use a wide and I try to get as close as possible, and it's possible I might yank the cable, so it might black out real quick, right? Let's try it, look how close I am on the camera view, right? This is about, you know, the shoulder, about the same, this is super awkward for you, right? But again, if you use,
Oh my god.
right?
Not a.
That is your profile picture, okay? On your Instagram, no. See, these are the type of photos nobody wants. You know, even if you get close. Again, what happens with the wide angle lens is like it stretches everything. So people will not, if you take this photos, you guys will no longer be friends, right? The only way you can get, let's get the lesson for each lens. The one thing that the wide angle lens obviously does well is trying to get all of the context. Usually that's really good, let's say when you have a landscape or nature, like mountains in the back, and you wanna show a lot, like Grand Canyon, we have a Grand Canyon here, that thing is huge, there's no way, you know, the camera itself can capture that. So you go wide and try and capture everything. And the person is usually tiny in those things, because on the wide, look how small she is. Let me take a photo so it doesn't. Okay, let me show you how tiny it is. You see that? Let me just. I'm just wondering if I could just edit and just flat out. There you go, straighten it like that so that you guys can just see it, right? If you notice, look how small she is opposed to the rest of the background. Now, this could tell a story per se if we were telling a story, let's say, of her surroundings, of her home. But even then, this is not a very flattering photo of her. Usually the widescreens, I noticed, first of all, you have to center them or really, really push that rule of thirds really to the edge of the line, but as center as possible. Because again, here's what happens. Remember, on the wide angle lens, the further edge you go, the more they get stretched. And usually for people, that stretches wide, so they look fat, a lot fatter than usual. So like in this case, if I do it like this, if you're on the side, notice your legs are beginning to warp quite a bit, right? And you can kind of see as it turns around all the warpings of the surrounding. On the wide angle lens, it's a little tricky because you do want to break the rule of third a little bit and then try and get centered. Notice how her legs begin to get longer, right? Again, because it's the edge. But the further back you go, the more correct the person becomes. And now it's a lot more of the home, and she's the secondary character. She's the sidekick. She's not the hero, she's not the main character, she becomes the sidekick. Which is okay, if that's the kind of story you're trying to tell. I also noticed, like if you go down, right? It begins to start getting to a perspective, especially when you straighten the doors and the windows, of everything starting to look correct. And then you get a little closer. Indoor, for the wide shots, it begins to get really, really useful when you're doing real estate photos and you're trying to, like when you're trying to sell a house. And then you want all of the room and make the bedroom look bigger than it really is. Make the restroom look bigger than it really is. Because that's the thing about the widescreen. It makes everything bigger. So it makes your subject in the middle of the ground. 1x, right? It's weird because on the new iPhones, they have many 1x's. Look at this. I can tap it again, and it becomes like 3 different 1x's. Let's go for the original 1x, which is 28. This is actually what they designed the camera for, right? This is the main lens. So the thing about the main lenses is designed for like selfies and close people. And they do look flattering if you start doing vertical. Only when you do Instagram or something do you do vertical. You never ever do vertical. Please practice landscape. The good thing about landscape or horizontal is you can always crop the sides. If you do vertical and you need landscape, you cannot add detail. Well, nowadays, I guess with AI you can. But in reality, you do want to make sure you get horizontal first so that you can crop probably around the thirds. And then, but if you do this, again, you can't add to the sides here. There's no data there. So generally you want to do it like this. But I guess a younger generation, if you see people do this, they say you're a boomer or old, right? Because the new people don't do this. All right, with that said, again, play with the angles. Here's what happens. If I want to say, make her look authoritative, can you like sit like with your arms like a power hungry like boss? Let's say you're a mean boss, all right? And you're gonna look down on your interviewees, right? If we wanted to make her look powerful, notice again, the angle here. And again, I like to zoom in per se. We want to show that chair, right? We want to show that chair. But if we go for the lower angle, notice what happens here. She's looking down on you, and naturally speaking, when you look down on people, when something looks bigger, we get intimidated. Naturally, this is what movies do all the time. Again, monsters are always gonna be this angle, or even if it's eye level, slightly above. I believe you're supposed to put it right below the mouth, right? If you wanted to make it look like eye level, but they're still looking slightly down on you. If you want them to look like normal human beings, right? You go as close to the eye level as much as you can. And this is like, oh, here's Debbie. And it's like a nice little photo of Debbie. And again, I use the zoom to try and get rid of much of the background as possible. Although in this case, maybe that starfish is a good thing, right? A little bit of that table does a lot of wonders. And again, if you really wanted to zoom in, if you wanted like a mugshot, right? This is actually a really good smiling photo actually of you.
Oh my god.
I guess she disagrees. All right, so going back to 2x, if I wanted her to look a little sympathetic, right?
Sympathetic?
Like if I wanted you to,
Oh,
like, right?
okay.
Let's say just kind of sit with your hands to your thighs or something like, yeah, perfect. Like this, and then I took a photo, right? Just looking down on the person makes them look a little weaker, right? So, ooh, okay, hello. Is my cable? Okay, I'm guessing this dongle doesn't, like, if you guys look at the camera side, I'm guessing this cable is a little finicky. So I have to play around with it. Anyways, in general, let me go to 1x so that it doesn't happen again. In general, if you look down on the person, notice what happens here. Now, this could be used for what? To use sympathy. If you're doing fundraising, if you want to say, hey, look at the poor old granny, right? Oh, hey, it depends on the kind of expression you're going for. If you want your profile picture to look like, hey, I'm the boss, I know what I'm doing, I got it all together, then maybe a little bit more of an authoritative look might work. If you look down, again, if you want some people to feel sympathy, or believe it or not, sometimes just plain weak. If you notice, a lot of the heroes, until they get powerful later, they will look down on them so that we feel like they are weaker in the beginning, like the bad guy's really strong, And then later, all the victims that are running is always you look down on them. Nobody runs like this. There will never be a camera shot where people run away from this angle because it makes them look a little stronger. That it looks like a strong guy running away, unless that's what you're going for. If you want someone strong and they are a coward, right? And they're just running away, maybe doing this and they're running away or looking away from the camera might do the trick. Because whenever you have someone look away, right, it looks like they are going on an adventure. They're either going somewhere or going away from you, right? So that's what you're trying to do. You're like, for example, can you stand? And can you look out the door like a curtain real quick?
Is that here?
Yeah, or next to the door, right?
Oh.
And then, yeah, that little curtain, the lighting there. Ooh, the cable here doesn't reach. Alright, so that's okay, I'll just zoom, the power of zoom, right? So, let's take a look. Alright, look at the camera real quick. I'm gonna use a rule of thirds real quick here. I'm going to do waist up. I hope everybody can hear me because I'm looking away. Alright, let's say I take a photo here. Alright, look this way. Now look away, like the whole body. Right? Can you get closer to the door hinge? Great, yeah. Let me go ahead. I don't know why this is not working. Okay, there you go. Rule of thirds again. And then, can you look like literally away? Like you're looking through the window,
Oh, like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me make sure. I'm just gonna zoom in on this one just so that you guys can see here. For some reason it won't let me, oh, there it goes. And, all right, go ahead and have a seat because I don't want you to stand the whole time. Let's take a look. All right. I don't know why it keeps showing me that way. I mean, I know why it wants to show me that way, but I don't know why it would. Let's try this way. Okay, that's better. I'm sure all of you guys can see it this way, right? Okay, perfect. So notice the mood on this one is a lot different from, say, this one. Right? Oh, you're closing your eyes on that one. Okay, this one, notice she's posing actually. She was actually playing with her hair, but she didn't want to do it. But you have to realize action photos do a lot more than these photos because we know those are fake. So these might be like a brochure shot, like you might see like a brochure or clinic, but even then, that's like a bio shot. If we want to see who the person is, right? Usually when it comes to the group photo, we just want to see the person. And unless you're going somewhere and there's a group photo for your vacation or something, or you're trying to do a bio, like a mug shot, so try not to get these shots. The reason these shots don't work is, first of all, she's closing her eyes. Second, it's because it's best if the subject is not aware of the camera. This looks like, yeah, she knows the camera is there, so she's acting the part, right? But even if they act the part, it's best if they do something casual, natural, you know? So that's why there's like 1,000 different poses. Just to let you know, most photographs you see are all posed and fake, right? There's a cameraman that says, can you put the arm a little this way? Can you put the elbow this way? Can you shrug your shoulders? We do all kinds of things to make it look natural, but none of that is natural. So in this case, we accidentally got a natural one because she was naturally playing with her hair. So that's definitely Debbie. When people see photo of this, they can think that's Debbie, right? There's no denying it. Now, if I was to do a little bit more of a direction, I would probably ask you to do something with the right arm, right? And maybe S curve on the body, just so that there would be a little bit of gravity and a little bit of tilt. Right? Because that looks like you're just stiff and you're like, what do I do? But that's what she was thinking. So that's as accurate as it gets. Now, notice the side view. The side view for the longest time in film has been used not just to show where they're looking at, because that's what's important. We can't just show a side view like this. Right? There has to be like a window, something she's looking at. Or like we discussed last week, we can't just have her off to the side. Let's try that again. Can you stand? I'll demonstrate here. Yeah. Okay. So this is a no-no. See that? I'll just take a photo here. That you cannot do. And if I was to really take a photo and someone said, I want a side view of me at the door, right? This is a little distracting. You see that? Either have all of it, or in my case, I'm just gonna get rid of it. So can you move a step forward? I might even just not use that there, right? And if I can get closer, I would, but sorry, the cable here, I should have maybe used a longer cable. So I'll just go back. Again, if you zoom in, nice fish. If you zoom in, it gets rid of all of these distractions, right? I can do it this way, and maybe slightly this way. Can you turn 45 to me? Yes, and then look out the window, right? A little to your left, but then look out the window. No, just your head. There you go. That way she's sort of looking at me, but then she's looking somewhere, right? It might actually be better if we open the curtain, but I know what's behind there. It's kind of not exactly the best view. So I think in this case, this kind of shot works a lot better. Now, what's really important is notice what I'm doing here. I'm moving around a lot. In fact, in most cases, I will try different shots. Look at this one. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was talking to them, sorry. Can you go turn your head slightly to the left? Yeah, to me.
Oh, to you.
Yeah, just your head. Okay. So I just want to make it look like you're looking outside. But that's another thing, right? Technically she's looking there, but it looks like she's looking out the window. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure I see a little bit of our eye. You see? So there's a little bit of trick there, but if you look at this, let me go back to the photos. If you look at this, let's go ahead. Yeah, that works. Okay, I think we kind of lost them for a second. Now this tells a bit of a story. Right? I will probably crop this a little more. Let me go ahead. We're going to talk about editing actually in another workshop. This is just about operation, but I just wanted to show you guys the potential here. I like that house. I want the top of the house. I'm going to get rid of her elbow. Right? Now, when they're looking out just like that, it shows kind of a story, like she wants to live there.
Yeah, I'm waiting for something.
Yeah, you're waiting for something, you're looking forward to something. It looks like the house is part of the story. And I like the fact that it's seen through the curtain, right? So it's almost like you're distant from it, there's a barrier. If it's clear, can you open the curtain real quick? Let me just show you real quick here. Oh, it doesn't slide?
Yeah.
Oh, let's say like this, that doesn't look the same, does it? If it's totally clear, no. Silhouettes and all of these little props, right? They add barriers. In fact, it might be cool if she could look through these, because there's another barrier there. You could see it, but not quite. It's reachable, but not quite reachable, right? Okay, let's have you sit again. Let's try a few. Oh, and by the way, you guys know, like in magazine shoots, they take like 4,000 pictures or so, and they pick one photo, right? Maybe 3. So this is part of it. So even if the person is just sitting on the chair, let's get it from the chair's perspective, because the chair is absolutely part of the story, right? Now this is what we call a straight on shot. Is that a,
It said that it's okay. I just
okay,
said
so
that
we got like 10,
Yeah.
so we got like 10 more minutes. Oh, I don't know how it decides that some of them will come straight like this and some of them come rotated, right? So, again, really liking this photo, but if it was really me at a shoot, I will probably remove the background, remove some of the stuff on the table and just leave the table and make the table part of the star, right? But notice the angle here, right? Notice what I'm trying to portray here. I could pose her, right? To be like, hey, how do you usually sit at work? And if she has a leg up or something like that, that'd be a really great display of the personality. But this is more like you're in a job interview, I think, or something, because of your hand gestures. Oh, by the way, I can't see the chat right now. After she leaves, I will go over the chat, okay? So if you guys have been saying something in the chat, I will go over that right after she leaves. Hopefully it's nothing like, we can't hear you, you know?
I know the whole time.
Hopefully, right? So in this case, like I said, I will probably get rid of that chair. And then all the props, except maybe the lamp and maybe some of her favorite books or a laptop for her favorite item. And then go ahead and take a photo, if I wanted the full body, on like off camera. And again, a little lower. And then it decides that it looks like that, okay. Okay, I don't know how it decides, some of them should be slanted and some of them shouldn't. Ooh, the cable again. Let me see if I can find, oh, there it goes, okay. Whew. Lots of technical difficulties today, right? Just to let you know, this is a very technical stream, so, alright. So like this, you guys have to tilt your head to kind of see it, so do I, that's what I'm seeing. But if you guys look at this, again, if the chair is gone and the table's there, we can do something about the background. If I look at this and I go, huh, the windows don't look right, I will move the entire chair, maybe closer to the camera, but make it still look like it's against the wall. Now, go ahead and cross your legs and just like lean back, like you're relaxed. Body language does a lot, right?
Should with my hands.
You can have one, let's say, on there, or actually, you know what, the left arm on there, and the other one just like this, on your chin. Yep, just like that. There you go. All right, now if she tilts her head to the right, leaning against it, it definitely shows that she's completely relaxed. However, if we want to show some authority, can you put it over the chin and then you can lean? But yes, straighten the hair, straighten the face, like just like this, you know? Then, look what she looks like. She looks like she has an attitude. That's good, right? That would be like a villain shot almost, right? Like they are confident. In fact, the feet might not even be necessary. Although I will always get a wider shot and then go in for the kill. Because when you have a wider shot, you can always kind of crop in a little bit. So if you have a perfect shot, go a little bit wider, and then go by wider, I don't mean zoom in and out, I mean walk back. Okay, remember, we want to use the settings that are on the camera, that's the best quality. And you want to take a photo that, do you want me to send you some of these?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah. I'll put some of these maybe on Edstone so that you guys can see it closer, right? But notice I've never shot here before, so we're all figuring this out together. And I like candid shots like that, right? Where she's playing with her hair, where she's looking away, her natural self. And then we go ahead and look up at her. I'm just gonna make sure both her hands are in it, make sure I'm not cutting anything off. Now, the thing is, the knee, I like that I cut it off, but I do want to show that she's crossing her legs, so can you tiptoe your leg? Again, not natural, she would never normally sit like that, but we wanna show that she's crossing her legs on there, right? Kinda like that. Okay. Are you enjoying this? We should do more of these.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. Alright, and I hope you guys have fun with it, because remember, it's about where you stand. I think a very famous photographer named Ansel Adams, he said it's all about knowing where to stand. So go ahead and stand over there, stand over here. And now I want to show you guys some trick. I turned this lamp on before, this little lamp here, and it's purple.
Oh.
Yeah,
I've never used that
the color is purple. I think it's one of those fancy smart lights where you can change the color
Oh. I didn't know
for
that.
like party or something, but I
Oh,
turned
I
it
think
on.
it was, but yeah, she
Yeah.
did take the light.
Let me
bulb
show you how that looks. Let me
out.
it might create a weird highlight on her face. Look at that on the mood, right?
Whoa.
You know, check that out on the mood. Okay, can you look towards the camera? Over that camera, right? And then let's place, remember, we're trying to, oh, I think I sent it to the photo, right? We're trying to place the background here. You have to place the background, you have to be aware of the background. I like somewhere around here. I want to show off the color, right? I want to show off the color. The tricky thing about the camera phone is once you tilt, you can't really see the screen, right? So let me go ahead and maybe even cutting in. Gotta find that sweet spot here where I'm using rule of thirds and I'm gonna place the lamp and her eye. And then from here we can kind of crop. And again, if I wanted to, I'll zoom in a little bit. Ooh, there's no little bit with this camera. It just goes from 2x to 5x. Some of you guys that have 3x, good on you, because that's 3x is my favorite. In this case, maybe I should even just cut everything out. Yeah. And then you get something like that. If we wanted to, we could turn off the house lights here.
Oh.
And this goes into a very interesting territory called low light photography. So low light, I can't really show you where to point, and it's different on every camera. So you have to research your camera. But there's two different ways you can do that. First of all, there's flash, and a lot of times I don't like flash on camera phones because they're very limited. They only go very short. Let me see if there's a way to demonstrate that real quick. Let me turn on the camera. Flash, here we go. There you go. Not the most flattering because it darkens everything else. And also, like I said, if I go far and I zoom in, let's say, let's put the lamp and her close together. If I use a flash, it tries to compensate so hard for everything else. And also the flash color is not pleasing compared to the purple, because the flash is always a natural white tone and not this like yellow or magenta tone. So let's go ahead and try without the flash. And then what happens? And then what happens is it turns on what's called a night mode. Show you here. So this is called a night mode on the right. If you guys notice, it's on auto. I can put 1 second. So what will happen is it'll record for like a second. Let me put 2x. It'll record for 1 second to collect as much light as possible. Here's what happens. We'll talk more about this later. So if I press, notice for 1 second, I have to stay completely still. And it collects for 1 second. It collects whatever photo it is, because there's not enough light, it'll actually take 1 second instead of like a quick snap to collect the light. You could actually do 3 seconds, 5 seconds, depending on how dark it is. And what happens is it becomes a lot more natural looking than the flash, right? Now, in order for us to get rid of shadows and stuff, we can use what's called reflectors, which we will talk about next week. We're gonna go outside next week. We're gonna have a different person possibly, but we will do some of the photos outside. Oh, there it goes again. Not that you need to see this right now, but yes. So we're gonna take a photo outside, and then we're gonna take a bunch of stuff outside, and you will realize the sunlight and the low light stuff is totally different outside, especially when you have backgrounds that can go very far. Okay? Now, with that said, can you stand up again and maybe stand next to the lamp? You can move the chair. Okay, is that 7:10?
Yeah, we take this
Okay, here we
picture.
go. Okay, let's take this picture real quick.
Do you want me to look out or knit?
Towards the camera, let's say. Alright. This is not like a good photo or anything, but I wanted to demonstrate something real quick here. Good, you're moving. Alright, the thing about low light camera photography, let me just show you from the photos here because I want you guys to see it in large. Right? The thing about low light photography is if they move, it gets blurry.
Oh.
That's why your subject has to be completely still and your camera also has to be completely still. Because if anything moves in that 1 second that it's capturing, because it's actively capturing, if something moves, something changed. So it blurs, it captures everything, the motion, it captures the motion. So what I want you guys to notice here is the glow of the lamp on her face. On her left side.
Closing my eyes.
I'm not counting, so yeah, there's one. See the glow of the light on her face, right? You always have to look at light and the color of the light. That determines pretty much the type of mood and the photo you're gonna get. If you can, play with light. Like in this case, you have different color, please play with them because it creates a really, really unique photo. Like for example, if we close the back, this window blind here and try and make it as dark as possible, and we took a photo like this, and maybe she's a little bit like leaning down and then leaning a little closer to it, where I can't really see the lamppost. We might have a good like gaming type vibe, like a gamer. I don't know what a gamers like really bright colors and neons and blue and green, like all kinds of neon colors. So we can actually make her look like she's at like some type of PC room, some kind of a gaming room, right here in this corner. Right now, if we send her friends this photo, they might not even know that it's her home, right? So they're gonna go, why is that thing purple? And it's really weird, and I kind of like it because it's unexpected. All right, so I guess you gotta go, right? Let me go ahead and turn on the light here.
No, I'm sad.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Let me go ahead and see the chat and see if everybody is alive. Where is the chat? Okay, got 11 things. They say hello. All right, everybody, go ahead and say bye to Debbie. She's gonna be going to
I wish I could stay
school.
longer. Bye, have a good day. Hopefully, I can take better pictures, better photos for you guys.
All right, see you guys. Let me go ahead and put this back, and we're gonna screen share. Okay, so wow. Okay, so on this camera, do you guys see how bright it is? And do you guys see the space here? And this is the purple light. It's so overpowered by the sun. Turn that off. And no matter what you do, that's what I'm talking about. We're gonna talk more about the camera settings and things because camera phones have an advantage. And one of the advantages is that it's always in focus, or at least it tries to be. A lot of your shots, even if you're moving a little bit, it will always be in focus. If you guys use a big cameras, good luck. It's really, really difficult to try and get a focus shot. That's why people spend a lot of money on autofocus and different type of focus. You know, and let me go ahead and bring this up. Look at that, a little portable laptop thingy. All right, let me just say bye, she's leaving out the door. Bye, Debbie, thank you again. Okay, so I don't know if that demo taught you guys anything. It is not the best, let's say, photo shoot. Like I said, sometimes we spend hours here trying to figure out which corner works best, which walls work best, what do we have here, and then we also look at how it looks on camera. We have test shots. Most of the stuff that we did today, I would qualify as more of a test shot, and then we nail that one shot. We take several shots of that. Now, let me go ahead and pull this up real quick here. All right, hello. Let me turn this over to the camera mode again, because I want to show you guys something. All right, let's look at the camera if it allows me to do that. I might have to swap the dongle. Okay, let me swap the dongle. Let me go back. Always remember, when there's technology, there's likely problems. Unexpected problems. Even when everything worked, like literally before we started that, everything worked just perfectly fine. And yet, look at that. Okay, let me see. Let me put this in here. Always remain calm. All right, let's see if that works. It looks like it detected it at least. Okay, let's see. Yay, but it doesn't go sideways. And it disappeared. Oh, maybe it doesn't like the sideways. Oh, that's interesting, huh? Let's try that again. I don't know why, but technology likes to reboot. Okay, let's see if that goes anywhere. Yeah, it doesn't like the horizontal on these dongles. All right, well, I'll demonstrate it on the vertical because the stuff I'm about to show you are gonna be on the are gonna be the same settings anyway. So, first things first, on the iPhone, oh, never mind, hang on 1 second, it doesn't like something. Okay, so on the iPhone, the flash can be forced on or off. Oh, what is going on? All right, I'm just like kind of like, all right. So, oh, every time I talk, maybe it's me. It doesn't like my voice. Every time I talk, it doesn't really. Oh, look at that! I have a phone call. Ignore. Maybe that was the issue. Okay. So, with that said, let's see if this goes anywhere. So the top left, the top bar on the iPhone shows like flash and different type of menu, but the one that I want to focus on is the middle arrow. It seems to be going on and off, huh? So the middle arrow, if I press that, notice what happens to the bottom part. Do you guys see that? Oh, okay. So I guess it likes it and it doesn't like it. Okay. The bottom part here, I'm gonna go ahead and put, you see that? Like the bottom part here? It reveals the bottom part. And don't worry, we'll get through this. I want you guys to play with those settings because that's where you can turn on the flash, that's where you can turn on the night mode. And remember, if you're gonna take photos of night mode, let's say, let me see if it likes this better. It's gonna come on. Okay, let me go ahead and put these on. All right, if you're gonna say get on the night mode, and take pictures of the stars per se. If you're gonna take pictures of the stars, then you have to keep the camera completely still. You hear me? Stars are very far away and very tiny. Slightest movement will make it like streak. It'll have lines on it. And if you have lines on it, that's not the kind of pictures of stars people want, unless that's what they're going for. I know a lot of people that take a photo like this and then they, oh, I guess, I'm sorry. The phone is getting really hot. I guess it's overheating is what it was. All right, we'll try that again later. And also if I need to show you anything, I'll show it to you maybe more like this and I'll get close to you guys and we'll see how that looks. But, all right, well, since it needs to cool down, let's go ahead and start the screen share. and continue talking about the night photos. So the night photos are tricky only because of that. Do you guys know the self-timing features on the camera phones? Where it takes a photo after you pressed it and you just get to select how many seconds you have. 1 second, 2 seconds, so up to 10 seconds. Usually it's 2, 3, 5, and 10 seconds. One of those. Those are not just for when you're taking a group photo and you press it and then the timer begins and you run to your group and then you smile and then try not to like pant, and then it takes a photo and then you go run back and then you see how it looked and then you go, oh no, I don't like that, and then you readjust and then you run back. So it's not just for those. It's also for low light photography. It's also for night shots of Milky Ways and different stars. The reason that works is because when you press the shutter button, when you press the camera button, when you press to take photos, it shakes. And believe it or not, that little shake ruins your photo, because that little shake in the beginning causes blurs, causes streaks, causes lightings to change for that split second. And on a camera phone like this, unlike a large camera, notice, even if I move it slightly, you might not see it, I'll exaggerate it. Even if you have a little bit of jitter on this tiny camera, that far away, that's few. You know what I mean? That's a lot of movement from here, just slight change is a lot of movement, actually. So you have to put it on a timer. That way you press it and then it counts 3 before it takes a photo. So for 3 seconds, it settles down. I actually have taken photos with this against the rock. I put it on the ground and I put it against the rock like this way, and then I had to like go this way and take a photo this way. I have had it against books. I have had it against folders. I've had it against different. I had a battery pack. You guys know those power banks. I put it on a power bank. I put it on cups at restaurants. You know, like there was a great view at the restaurant, and I wanted to take a photo, so I put it on the cup. It's about improvisation. Now let's go ahead and start this. All right, can everybody see? And I'm gonna open up the chat. Hello, everybody. It says it's too bad I can't see. Oh, well, I think it's Diana. Can you not see because of the internet issue, or is it because of like it was blacking out a few times? So let me know. It'll probably take a few seconds to get there, and then when you type, it'll probably take a few seconds to get back. But let me go ahead and start the keynote here. And now let's begin the lesson. So photography, the camera phone allows an interesting opportunity for everyone to become a photographer. I don't know if you guys noticed, but BBC Wildlife just released their 2023 wildlife photo winners. It's a photo contest, and in the category, they had a category of, now you can't, perfect. So they had a category called camera phone photography. So this is something that everyone is beginning to recognize. And it's a photo of a bear and the salmon is jumping into his mouth in the river. So it's a very, very pretty photo. We can Google it if we want later, but know this, camera phones have done 2 things. It has made everybody the ability to be a photographer, because this is almost all the equipment you need for the most part. You see these 3 lenses. The reason it has 3 lenses, and some of you guys have 1 or 2, but the reason those lenses exist is because, you know, in my big DSLR, like, you know, giant cameras, I have to buy those 3 lenses separately, and each one is like $2,000. So I have to pay like $5,000–6,000 to have 3 lenses. My goodness, you have it right here. Right? You got the wide shot, you got the normal, you got the mid, as we say, you got the zoom, the telephoto lens. So you have everything you need right there. Obviously, there are differences. There's difference in quality and usage, but know that that thing is an amazing piece of technology. And the thing about photography, again, the thing that the camera phone did that is unfortunate, and it's also made us take photography for granted. When we take, the backlight is too bright. Yeah, can you still see me? Oh wait, right now we're screen sharing, so it should be fine, right? Sorry, but the camera that I'm using for this shot, yeah, the background is a little too bright. That's because this is a very low light area, and in order to see any of the furniture and stuff, I had to crank it up. So, going back to it, it made us taking photos and not appreciate it as much. It's like one of those days, I don't want to sound like back in my day, back in the good old days, like not that type of an attitude. But back in the day, when you had to listen to music, you know what you had to do? There was no YouTube, there was no MP3, there was no, Spotify and these different streaming services. You had to buy a CD or a cassette tape. I don't know if you know what those are, but yes, you had to buy this thing called CDs. And you have to buy one of each artist. And in order to listen to them, you have to have a CD player and this stereo. And if you wanted to enjoy the music, you had to get a better stereo. And that people just sitting there, putting a CD in to enjoy the music was different from us having millions of songs, tap, tap, tap. And my friend can't even listen to a whole song. She just skips after like the first chorus because she wants to move on to the next song because she's so impatient, right? I think it made us appreciate individual music and artistry a little bit less, or at least take it for granted, take the technology for granted that we have access to so much art. Movies the same, and believe it or not, now the photography is the same. Here's why. We have a free lighting. We call them natural light photographers. We have what's called the sun, and that's the photo of the sun. Just raw photo of the sun, nothing fancy, no astro telescope, little, or a sunset, nothing like that, just sun in the sky, and that is what it looks like on a typical camera phone. Now, the sun, I think, is something we underappreciate because the entire world moves according to the sun. They migrate, the sun dictates our entire season and timeline. And even for humans, it determines, we have learned not to migrate, like when it snows, we learn how to heat our homes so that we don't have to go to warmer climates, thank goodness, right? Can you imagine every season we have to like walk 1,000 miles? Right? And then we have to walk 1,000 miles back. But it still dictates a lot of our lives because it changes our seasons. It dictates a lot of our lives because it dictates when we go to sleep, right? The reason I say this is because human beings, therefore, or all animals, subconsciously respond to the sun. And cameras work the same way. And your camera phone actually works the same way. Color of the sun is different where you go, and the color of the sun is different time of day. Obviously, at night it doesn't even exist, so we go by the moon and the stars and street lights and artificial lights, as they say. But when it's sunrise, the color of the sun that hits the buildings and your face is different. When it's noontime, the way it hits your face is different. It's really bright. There's harsh shadows. The way the shadows cast are different throughout the day, and those are the things we have to pay attention to because sometimes we want the shadow, sometimes we don't want the shadow. Did you guys know noon is about the brightest in most places, the noontime, where the sun is kind of straight up, right? This straight up. Therefore, when it casts a shadow, it actually has one of the most unflattering shadows on the face and unflattering shadows to the feet. And one thing camera phones don't do very well is shadows. The shadows come out dark. It comes out black. You can barely see anything in the shadows unless there's some balance between the lightest part and the darkest part. Like if you take a photo of this, like outside in the sun, usually the shadows are completely dark. If you go indoor maybe, or maybe the tree shade, if you're taking photos in the shade and then the person is casting more shadow, you could probably see some details in the shadow. One thing the camera photos can't do again is the shadows, which is why we have to pay more attention to it. When it's the noontime, you're thinking it's the brightest, so it must be the best lighting. It's not, because it makes everything unflattering unless that's what you're going for. It gives the raccoon eyes, it gives all kinds of different shadow, it blackens right underneath the neck, which is not always the worst thing. So what we do is we use what's called reflectors sometimes if you have to take photos at noon, and you guys can do this too. Take like a cardboard or foam board or some kind of a board, and then go put aluminum foil on it. You know, aluminum foil for cooking, just put it on there and it becomes kind of a pour mirror. And you want a pour mirror, not a real mirror. Real mirrors are too precise. You want it slightly discolored. You want it to be a little less than a mirror, and go ahead and crinkle it up. You don't want it super smooth. You want to crinkle it up, because what we want to do is we want the light to hit this aluminum foil and then spread. Okay, we don't want it to go boing and then just go straight up. We want it to hit, and because of all the little wrinkles and different surfaces everywhere, we want it to hit and reflect in different directions. What that does is you take an aluminum foil and you guys go ahead and find the sun and then reflect the sun towards the shadow. Then it lightens the shadow. It kind of gives a little bit of light to the shadow. And again, next week when we're outside, we will demonstrate more of that, okay? But note, what I want you to know is different day has different color for the animals and different reactions from people, different mood. And this is important because a camera can't really tell the difference of the sky color. It'll always, because camera phones try to do everything automatically, so it tries to create the same color, and that's not gonna work, okay? Let me give you an example. What is the color of the sky right before sunset? Again, there's a sunset. Right before the sun actually set, what color is the sky? And if you are into photos and you've only seen photos of sunset, you'll be saying red. First of all, very rarely is a sunset red. It's actually kind of bright orange, right? Kind of brownish, bright orange, has a little bit of red or pink as it goes, or reflection of the clouds. It can be pink, but generally it's orange. But before that, even before that, before the whole sky turns completely orange, who knows what the color is? Can you guys put on the chat? What is the color of the sky before sunset? And while you guys are taking that guess, don't cheat, don't Google, okay? Right, take a guess. Ever thought, this is what I mean by like, you go ahead and take a look at the light. And I am, of course, she says gray, possibly. If it's a cloudy day, definitely gray. And it does definitely have a gray mood, right? Because the whole world becomes starts to go into the shadow, right? Because it's about to set, like the angle of the sun, the entire city is now casting a shadow on itself, right? So yes, it does have that gray mood. But really, look at the sun before the sunset. It's the color of the rainbow. That's right, it has all of it. It has red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and then on the other side of the sky is violet. It starts to turn night on the other sky, on the other side, and it starts to turn purple. So those kind of lightings are gonna be really, really wacky when you take a photo of it, right? But sometimes that adds to the color, because some parts of the land will be this color, some parts of the land will be that color. But what I want you to pay attention to, before you only knew it in here and felt it in here, oh, the sun is setting, it's time to sleep, those are all subconscious things. Your body starts to get into certain mode. Now as a photographer, I want you to consciously think about it. Consciously think about light, because this is all cameras do, they capture light. So you have to pay attention. When you walk in somewhere, you are going to look at all the awareness of where the sun is, where it is casting the shadow, and how the color is different throughout the day. This is called white balance too. On your camera, which I cannot show because it's for some reason still hot. But on your camera, if you guys look at the settings and features, and you guys can Google literally iPhone white balance or Android white balance, Samsung white balance. They only to go ahead and write your phone model like S23 and then white balance. And then they will give you controls for what's called white balance. Your camera will adapt to the color of the sun. Because the sun, when it casts its color on a whiteboard, is different throughout the day. When it's sunset, remember how we demonstrated this earlier, where if she stands next to that purple lamp, obviously the purple reflects off her face. In the same way, when the sun hits white boards or pure white things, it's not always the same color throughout the day. It turns more yellow, it turns more blue. Yes, blue. It turns more yellow or blue. And camera, believe it or not, can't tell the difference. When it sees white, it's like, that's not white, that's blue. When the sun is setting, that's not white, that's orange. Because cameras are not smart enough to know what that is. It just sees color. Orange. Oh, no, that's a whiteboard. It's orange. Yes, it's orange because the sun reflects on it, but the board itself is white. You see? So the camera can't tell the difference between that. The reason that's important is because the camera can't tell the difference. Sometimes it will change the entire color of the room. Like what? Depending on what the white looks like, it changes the entire color of the room. It will make it more orange or more blue. You guys probably have taken those photos where you've taken it and you compare it with other photos, like, why is that so blue? Or maybe at night, where there's less sunlight and there's a lot of orange street lights, you take a photo and you take a look at the face and you're like, why is that so yellow, right? That is why. It's because camera phones can't do a good job of telling what white looks like. So you can do what's called white balance. White balance is something we're gonna take care of next week because we wanna make sure the white balance, like we can test more of it outside. We're gonna do the reflectors and stuff outside. I want you guys to learn the basics here of this, and also I gotta know what time it is. Okay, perfect. All right, so artificial lights, the lights that we create, also have different temperatures or different colors. The light bulb, you guys know nowadays we have white light, right? It's called, or cool light, as they say. It's a bluish light. And usually a lot of companies or office buildings have them. And then of course the fireplace is very orange, very hot temperature, very red. Candle flames in general tend to be very red and orange. Flashlights go anywhere from slightly yellowish, right, when you turn it on, to some of the more fancier, expensive lights tend to be whiter. Your light, believe it or not, is actually a pretty good source of light. It's actually a white light and it's designed for the face, so it has all the colors of the sun actually in this little thing. The only problem with the camera phone light, and the only time that I tell people not to use it, is when the subject is far away, because this is designed only for short distances. So maybe when you're taking a photo and you have another camera or your friend's camera and then you turn on the light and you try to light them up a little bit, that would be a good way to use it, as long as it's not in the shot. But if they're far away, this is not gonna do anything. The light will never reach them. So you can actually use flashlights to light up the subject, especially if the color matches your surrounding and the thing that you're going for. I've used flashlights in some magazine shoots because there was no light source, it went late, and then we had no other source of light. And we had amazing shots, because if you know how to use it, and then you use that 3 seconds, if it's too dark, 5 seconds, let the camera place it somewhere perfectly still, let it capture light for 5 seconds, and then have flashlight up and down so that it has more light to record for 5 seconds, and then you'll have a photo that is a combination of all the light that it took for 5 seconds. So the flashlight helps, opening that up helps, making sure your subject and your surrounding is completely still helps, making sure the camera is completely still. Obviously, all of those things put together is what makes the low light shot. And of course, our most hated source of light is the fluorescent light, or the incandescent lights. Those you will see in like garages, you know, those long tubes, and they kind of jitters a little bit, right? Just to let you know, it jitters in the cameras too, and the cameras don't like that light. A lot of cameras, if you guys look at the different modes, there's different modes on the camera, you can actually select fluorescent light, and then the camera will adapt to the fluorescent light, because you're like, oh, so this is fluorescent light. Okay, I know what to expect. So the camera phone will actually have a pleasant looking photo in fluorescent light. Again, you have to search your own phone model on how to do that. Most of them have it, but every single camera I noticed, studying the Android camera, like I said, I'm not an Android user. I bought this just for you guys, just to check it out. And I'm here to tell you, every single phone has it completely different. So go ahead and look it up, and then you will realize, hey, you know, my phone has that feature. If it doesn't have the feature, there will be tips on how to take fluorescent photos, because most places have fluorescent light. A lot of places have fluorescent light in the kitchen, you know. They'll have, your home might be fluorescent light, right? So it doesn't have the most pleasing light, but if you can change a few settings and the color settings on your camera, you can actually capture beautiful photos, even in fluorescent light. Again, you can use all of these because fluorescent light also looks natural because everybody knows what that looks like. So if you want to take a photo and that's part of your story and say, oh, my dad or my brother or I work under these lights, right? This is what my room looks like. And you want to document and show people this artistic way of showing your room and your lighting and all of that, then of course that's part of your story. So you should keep the fluorescent colors as much as possible, but still make it look pleasing as much as possible to look at. All right. So lighting is the single most important part. There's lighting and composition. We're going to talk about both today. Lighting is the single most part because that is what you use to tell the story. Usually you can use color, but that's kind of something you might have to spend money on unless you have, like, I guess, gel, like a film, you know, those clear arts and craft type of clear film that you can put over either the camera or over your lights, right? If you put it over your lights, then everything becomes that color. Then you can start using, you see this left guy here? What they did was put blue on one side, right? The right side of his face is slightly blue. They put red on the left side, but if you also notice, there's kind of a greenish yellow on the back side, right? Those are called 3 key lightings. We'll get into that. But notice they use a primary color, red, blue, and kind of a yellow-green type of thing. And they use that to create an interesting photo of this person. This one on the right is called backlighting. And someone mentioned backlighting earlier, right? It says that it's too bright in the back. You know, right now, if you guys are looking at my camera, my backlight is too bright. It's also because the camera was set too dark. It was very dark in this room. There was no sun, but the sun came up, and now it might be too bright. In fact, let me just quickly fix that, just to show you guys what this could look like. Okay, lowering. Normally I would have to have a subject here, but I'm guessing this looks a lot better, but I look a little darker because of the backlight, right? But I'm guessing this is a lot better to look at than what I have previous, right? Did you guys know your phone cameras can do that too? It's called exposure. Again, we can talk about that next week once I go ahead and debug all of this. So I wanted to show. So the backlight, notice on the right photo, that's all it is. There's no light actually on the person except for the one behind them, right? And that tells a story. First of all, we can barely see who she is. Some of you guys might recognize her, but we can barely see who she is, right? And what kind of mood do you get? You see like a spotlight on the person, right? Maybe they're in a theater or whatever, or dance or acting or whatever it is, but everybody can kind of feel this sort of almost like an anxiety or confidence, one or the other, that this person is on the spotlight. And if you are on the spotlight, what are you, like, you put yourself in her shoes, right? Lighting, we kind of did it earlier about angles. Lighting can change the person's mood. Like the left one here looks almost like a killer, doesn't he? It looks like he doesn't have it all together. So these are the low lights, right? The lights that come from the bottom. If you guys watch almost any horror movie, this is the lighting they choose for the monsters, right? The ghosts and the, I don't know why the ghosts are always like kind of like female with the long hair and they look like they're like blue and right? When there's like a ghost, that seems to be the choice that they go for. And then the light is always coming from the bottom. Here's why I mentioned the sun earlier. The reason this looks creepy is because it's the opposite of what we see on a daily basis. Light is not supposed to come from the bottom. We are used to the sunlight. Remember, sun is always lighting us all day. Everything we see is always from this perspective. The light is coming from the top or the side, but either way, half circle, all the way around us, okay, on the top. That is why the best lighting is always, like even when I'm adding a light, is always coming from, is always facing down. When I put on lighting, I almost never put it at the eye level and face it directly at the person, then it's just, like, well, that looks kind of weird, and the shadows are in a weird place, what's wrong with this guy? Yeah, no, most of the time, even in Hollywood, if you guys notice the studio, all the lights are hanging on top, right? And all the light, even like the big powerful ones, are always looking up, and then they're trying to reflect some of the light down. So that is the most natural way of lighting a person. If you don't light a person that way, you have to have a creative decision. Why? Because maybe you're trying to go for this. Maybe you're trying to make the person look scary. Maybe you're trying to make the person look like they have this tick. Maybe there's something really like this person has anxiety. This person is nervous. There's something not right with this setting, this person. Then that's part of your story, right? On the right, this is a common tactic. On the right, if you have the light coming from just one side, and if you notice, the other side is almost completely dark. And I'm guessing from the stream, it looks completely dark. There are techniques to make it slightly lighter so that you can see some of the face, but the concept is the same, is that it's only lit on one side. And usually you will see these on movies like The Joker or Batman. You guys know Batman? There is a villain, Two-Face, right? The guy has two personalities and there's two faces. One is like really distorted monster looking, the other one's kind of like normal, right? Whenever there's two sides of the person we're trying to show, we always light just one side, right? It's a technique. You don't see the other half. The other half's a mystery. Whenever you see this, you don't know the person. You know, you see this person and you go, there's a whole another side to them. And this, again, is a gut feeling. If you're trying to show a story where you're trying to say, you know, it's not what it seems. Things are not as they seem. This person might be nice, but they're evil. This person looks mean, but they're very kind. You know, whatever it is, you're trying to show this dark mystery of the person. And a common practice here is also that you can, when they're looking away, I've seen this happen. This side is dark, like this, like if you guys are looking at me on the camera, this side is dark and this side is light, which is the opposite. Usually the side on the camera is supposed to be lit, but then they made this side dark and almost like a backlight made this light come about. Now, those techniques are used to show that they are in the other side of the person, that there is another side to the person and that's who they are. You know what I mean? Right now, if you're talking Dr. Jekyll, Mrs. Hyde type of thing, you are showing the other side of the person. So Two-Face always, they show the primary side as dominant, and whenever they switch, the lighting switches. You know? Here is the difference between, remember last week I mentioned, and let's mention it again, flash during daytime. The reason we use flash during daytime, do you guys remember when we took photos here? This is a dark room, just to let you know. This is just a really good camera to capture this. But this is actually a very dark room. The window blinds are closed and that's a curtain and you can still see the lights coming from it. So when it was dark and I used a flash, did you guys remember? It darkened the background, right? Because it put light on the face and it tries to balance the face. So it put light on the face. In order to balance, it reduces the amount of light. So the back gets reduced too. That can be your best friend. Because again, noontime, the sun is way too bright. All cameras, including the camera phone, and I'm talking the expensive stuff, my expensive stuff, this expensive stuff, all cameras, when it doesn't do outdoor sun very well in its brightest. It's not designed for the brightest of the sun. In fact, we place what's called ND filters on our cameras, which is a sunglass, basically, for the camera. Here, I have a thing like a black sunglass, literally, that I can put on here like this and then take a photo to reduce the amount of light coming in because there's too much light and everything is way too bright. Like here on the left, this is not using a camera phone. This is using a professional camera. And notice everything looks faded on the left. That's because there's way too much light. There's like barely any shadows and stuff. Now, on the right, here's a trick though. If you use a flash, your cameras will reduce all the light, but the subject is still lit. If you take the photo on the right, where you turn the exposure and the lighting down, but you take a photo, she will be very, very dark. Too dark. It will be what we call silhouette. Have you guys seen those photos? Which we're gonna talk about next week, but if you guys seen those photos where it's only the shadow, like there's a sun in the back and then there's only the shadow of the person, that's called a silhouette, where the camera does a proper lighting for the back, but in order to do the proper lighting for the back, which is really bright, you have to darken the person. You have to darken your subject. So it's only the shadow, which by the way is a great RC way to create a shadow of the person because our imagination fills in the rest. Let's talk about the key lighting real quick because I'm trying to rush through a little bit. And if you guys have any questions, I will stay afterwards. And you can always email me, chat with me. I will be on there. EdSTEM has a discussion board. You guys can always put it on the discussion board. All right. So there's three main lightings. Well, yeah, three main lightings that you have to worry about. And the sun does most of it. All right. So there's what's called key lighting or the main light. That is what you think it is. It's the main light. But remember, one light can't do all of it. There will always be shadows, all right? So we call it the key lighting, which is the main bright light. And then we have what's called fill light, which we'll get into. Fill lighting. Fill lighting is because the main light is so bright, it makes the shadows dark. So what do? You fill a little bit of the shadow to brighten the shadow. So it's not as bright, or if it's just bright, we put it far away so that less of the light hits us. And just to lift that shadow a little bit. If you see the photo here, the key light is on her right side of the face or left side of the photo. And notice the shadow, we can still see the skin on the shadow. We can still see her eye on the shadow. We can still see a lot of things. That is the fill light. And then there's the backlight. There's generally a lot of light in the back. Okay? There are things reflecting off the walls, there's all kinds of things. So because of that, we have to worry about what the backlight looks like. Earlier, when you mentioned that the back is too bright, that's part of what I'm talking about. We try to worry about what's back there. Now, if this was a professional shoot and I was using my camera phone, I would probably darken it. I can actually put something gray on. I could actually cover that with something else. Or, here's how else you do it. This is why Hollywood has lights. If we can't turn on the sun, because it's the sun, then we add other lights to make me bright. Right? Then I'm just as bright as the background, then I can adjust the camera accordingly. Let me show you the 3-point lighting again. So the backlight is not directly behind the person unless you want that silhouette effect like the earlier the dancer or the performer. But you have some kind of a backlight because you want to, believe it or not, it's called a halo effect, where there's that gentle glow around the person, which reveals the shape of the person on a dark background. If you don't have that, our hairs, most of our hairs are, dark, right? Like dark brown, black, some highlight, brown, dark brown. There are some people out there that have red hair and blonde hair, right? Yellow hair. Some people dye their hairs different colors. So unless you have those kind of things, it still casts a shadow on the color. But most of us have dark hair, and therefore if the background is dark, we kind of blend in to the background. Our hair, sometimes when you take a photo, you can't even see the hair. Like if you do it like this, and there's a dark background, and you take a photo, well, you see where the hair begins, but you don't see where it ends. And you can't see the shape of the hair. So we have a backlight. The purpose of the backlight is to gently highlight the person. unless you want that artistic look, like I said earlier with the performer. If that's part of your art, great. But gently, for the most part, we're just gonna try and find a way to highlight the person. Sometimes that's not necessary. Maybe they're wearing all different colors, and this is a bright pink wall, so you don't even need it. That's fine. But unless you have those unique situations in life, there's shadows, there's different things, there's dark color, light color. So when you light a person on them, that's what the purpose of the backlight is. And then there's a key light again. The purpose of the key light is exactly as you think. You want to light the person. The fill light is so that it doesn't create that dark outline of the person as you go, unless that's what you're going for. Again, we'll talk more about the contrast. Like here, these are 3 key lights. Notice her hair, if you guys look carefully, you can see that the top of her hair is lit, right? This is a black background, and this is a dark room. So unless you put a light there, that's not lit. Do you get what I mean? That's a complete shadow space. The reason, but it looks natural. This is the most natural look that you can get. And the way I would go about that is to put the subject in a backlit place, or the background is just lit. Like it doesn't, like this, the windows, or next to the windows. It could be somewhat lit, right? But put the main light, most likely the sun, or whatever the window. Remember earlier we put Debbie next to the window here, and it casts light on her face. Lamps. When you guys do Zoom, you can get absolutely, with the camera phone, get professional results just by doing that. You don't need professional lighting. Professional lightings are a joke. They are tens of thousands of dollars. And you go up there, you can use the natural lighting that comes from the window. And then you could use, like I said, like an aluminum foil to reflect some of that light back to my shadow, just a little bit, just to fill, so that I look naturally lit with the camera phone. And I've used lamps to light, to use as a film lamp off camera, like right over here or something. Like my phone is right here, right? But it's off camera right here. I will put maybe the lamp here so it's hidden, but it still had a gentle light, just a little bit of light, enough to fill some of the shadow. Now filling the shadow does, again, is just a little bit. We have to see the shadow. Please, this is a good example of main light with a little bit of fill light and backlight, but I do want to show, use the shadows to your advantage. You want shadows, you want to use color temperature. Look at this. This has warm colors written all over it, right? It has that warm tone, it has a beautiful event space. You almost want to go there and eat, right? If you just took normal photo, like without thinking about it, everything's automatic and just, right? Again, the manual settings we'll talk about next week. But if you just take a photo, this photo will come out all evenly lit, all evenly bright, and the light, because it's so orange, the camera will automatically tone down. That's right, it'll tone down the orange and make it look a little bluer. So it does look more natural, but it really doesn't capture the essence of the place. It doesn't really capture the moment of the place and the beauty and the artistry of the place. Please don't be like this. This is Korean dramas like to do this a lot, where they just highlight everything. There's no shadows, right? They just light up everything they possibly can. Everything, there's like no, like her hair is so lit up, it's like yellow. See, we know that it's not because it is, but then if you look carefully at it, it's actually quite yellow, it's blonde on one side, and really just trying to have the minimal amount of shadows they possibly can. A lot of Korean dramas do this, and I know a lot of dramas in general do this. They love to just highlight everything. Now, there is an artistic choice for this. If you light up everybody evenly, like this, where nothing is too bright and too dark, then they look kind of dreamy, right? Kind of fantasy. They look like, oh, like, because you don't really see it and everything's lit, and it's like, ah. So sometimes they like to do that, right? But it shouldn't be used all the time. Please try not to think of lighting as I gotta light somebody as bright as I can. I gotta light everything as I possibly can. No, use the shadows. Your camera phones have an incredible feature. Like I said, they capture light for a second, 3 seconds. These are professional features, okay? For me to do that on my cameras, I have to pay a lot of money to be able to do it. On the camera phones, it's incredible. Samsung and Google Pixel and Xiaomi's and all these different brands, Apple, they have come up with a way to do it on the camera phone. And you can capture absolutely photos like this with your phone. But again, shadows tell as much of a story. If you notice this scene, most of these scenes, look carefully, is a shadow. It tells more story in this one shot using like a few lights, and even if they use a light, very dimly used lights. In fact, look at the window in the back. Not the one that's being covered, that little square window. The square window is dark. Usually windows that shine light that bright, up to an extent you see the rays of the light, are really, really bright in cameras. Like I said, you saw earlier. You see it now, look how bright that is behind me. And again, this is with the window blinds closed. The blinds are closed. And yet, the window in this photo is very, very dark. I bet this person put something there to cover that window to make it darker. And then they change the settings in the camera to lower the exposure to make it darker, you know? So because this is what they were going for. They want purposely to use the shadows. And then you see the other guy, not the guy that's pointing and you can't see him, you see just his silhouette, the shadow, and the halo effect, the light glowing around him. Except that guy, the other guy that's looking at him, they purposely made his face dark, right? They lighted him dark just enough to see him, you know? So they want to show that he's in the shadow, but he's not in the black, you know? They lit it just enough to be able to see, but they wanted you to see that it wasn't the shadow. So this happens a lot. And some of the uplight, like some of the fill light, which ends up being more than the main light, is coming from that lamp on his desk. You see that? I'm going to tell you, me and some of the Hollywood workers, we turn that lamp on, and that's not enough usually. Right now in this scene, there's someone else that's lighting his face with a low powered light, just enough from under to make it look like it's coming from the lamp. We take a lot of time doing lighting because I'm here to tell you the lighting is what make your photos look amazing. And not having the lighting, I mean, knowing how to use the lighting. The sun is an amazing free lighting. And I'm here to, most photographers I know don't use flash. Most of the photographers I know don't have additional lighting. They go, and again, it's called natural light photographers. They only use lights that's available to them, but they know how to manipulate it. They know this is coming from this way, kitchen light is coming from this way, it's creating this kind of shadow, I wanna come here. And they do very, very basic things. And then just a little bit of work makes your photo go from 0 to 100, you know? All right, this is called atmospheric spray. This is how ridiculous we get, okay? Literally, all this spray does is create a little bit of fog so that we can see the light. The ray of light, normally you can't see ray of light, even in camera. Lights are invisible until we see it bounce off an object and we see the color. So this is literally a spray, and all it does is makes the plates kind of smoky and foggy, but not enough that it is smoky and foggy, like it's not like a smoke machine, but it's just enough to make enough cloud so that we can make rays of light. And if you guys ever wonder how these photos were taken, that's how. And one way to do this is like, you know, humidity, rain, dust, right? So go ahead and dust everywhere. Like if you guys have sand everywhere, and softer works, right? If it's like those thick, crusty dirt, obviously that doesn't work. But if you guys broom for a while and then take a photo, it might create something like this. We've done all kinds of things to try and create rays of light. And the rays of light, obviously takes an incredible amount it's 8:03, so we gotta hurry. Okay, so I want you guys to think about lighting. And as you guys think about lighting, next week, we're gonna talk about how to get everything in position. Speaking of in position, composition is the other important thing. Where to place the subject. Do you remember earlier, I was like, okay, she's here, lamp's here. And then I started moving around to see where the lamp and her would best match, right? And then I should have spent a few more minutes on it, but I didn't want to waste your time too much. Look for lines, look for relations between two different things. Human eyes are designed to follow lines. So we naturally find it. In fact, when we look at certain things like that is completely random, we automatically try to make connections. We try to connect the dot. It's generally how our eyes work. And even though there's no real line, we will make one up in our eyes, in here. So, like, the reason the Eiffel Tower, the top right photo works is because there's the Eiffel Tower, right? And then there's a bit of an incline to the statues. The lamppost relation to that building in the back is what makes it it makes us zoom out in our eyes. You have to give the eyes somewhere to go. Going back, there are several techniques to do this. Lines that gather in places tend to work really well. That's why roads work really well, buildings that go around works really well, because everything on the horizon, the way we view it, it kind of closes in. It actually naturally makes a line where everything gets smaller and smaller as it goes to the center of whatever your focus is. So these type of photos generally work really, really well because of the lines that it naturally creates. But even if it doesn't, let's talk about a few compositions. And I'm sorry that I'm taking so long, but let's talk about symmetry. Symmetry means the same on one side and the other. So there's balance, right? On one side, like this photo here, it's the size of this one is a perfect one because top, bottom, left, right, it's the same, you know? And you can definitely use symmetry as a point of interest and then highlight what you're trying to focus on. Remember this, long stories, have you guys ever read a book and it's like really long, or watched a movie and it was really, really slow? Maybe this lesson is a little slow for you, but if a story gets too long, it's boring, right? In the same way, if a photo has too many things, right? Believe it or not, we don't like it. I saw some of your photos that you uploaded, that you captured. By the way, amazing photos. I really, really like them. I really enjoyed watching them. So a lot of you guys didn't put a comment in it. A comment would have been nice to know what you were taking photos of. But a lot of us, a lot of the photos, this suffer from too much. What do you mean? You can zoom in more on the child. Walk closer. There's so much going on in the background. There's so much going on in the photo that we're not sure what you're trying to say, right? It's just all talk and no point. It's a really long story. It's too long of a movie, 4-hour movie for like a 10-minute point, 10-minute action, you know what I mean? So you guys, we're gonna go over the assignment next week, and the assignment is gonna be about that. I want you guys to focus your photo. If you have to go wide, but I want you guys to get close, get rid of the unnecessary, get to the point, right? If you want the photo of the child, get the photo of the child, not a lot of these other things. Get the photo, if you want the photo of the child in the balloon, then get the photo of the child in the balloon, none of these other things. If you want the city, then make sure it's just the part of the city you want to tell photos of and that the child is placed correctly, right? Symmetry, again, another example. I do want to talk about asymmetry, which is the most popular symmetry, where things are not equal on both sides. Rule of thirds generally is about asymmetry, right? We don't like get all unless it's completely centered and like blah, blah, blah. It's a little boring photo, but it really highlights the person very well. It highlights the building very well. It highlights all of those things very well. But in terms of interesting to look at, we'd rather look at the Empire State Building to the right like this, and then left is kind of empty, right? We like, again, to have focus and the eyes lead somewhere, and then we can see the little sprouts. In this case, I would have put the mushroom on the right because I like to put everything from left to right, unless you want to show the mushroom first, and that was the case, right? This is another great use of asymmetry where one side is dominant and the other side is not. This is called the Walt Disney Concert Hall. They purposely designed it so the whole building is designed to be asymmetrical. There's nothing in the building that is symmetry, right? Even the curve is not a perfect curve. One side of the curve is bigger than the other. So taking a photo of this, obviously you get a natural asymmetry. And even the sky versus the street versus the building is not symmetrical. It's not even. All right, positive and negative space. Your subject, your main person, and sometimes there's a sidekick, the second subject, right? There's a main subject for the most part though, and then there's a background. Everything else is a background. How much of the subject versus the background is positive and negative space? Negative space is talking about everything around your subject, and the positive space is talking about your subject. So if you want mostly the subject, then the subject is most of the actual space in the photo, actual physical space. And for the most part, the negative space is mostly the negative space. Now, generally, we want to balance. The balance, again, is rule of thirds. You want 1/3 of the subject and 1/3 of the two-thirds of the background, or you want 2/3 of the background and you want you want 1/3 of the background and you want 2/3 of the subject. Let me give you an example. Here's a great use of negative space. And let's take a look at like the story that the left one with the tree is telling. That is a great use of centering, almost symmetrical, as well as breaking of the rule of thirds, except that it's in the middle third box. So the size is about the third. But it's trying to tell a story about this lonely tree and this vast white snow, right? So the vast white snow is the story. The bicycle, I want to show, bicycle is kind of obvious, but the wedding photography here. The wedding is, it's weird because most wedding photographers will focus on the couple, but this one is about the couple and where they are and that sense of freedom and the sky, that limited, like the sky is the limit. They are doing this journey together, right? And the sky, and they're telling so much story that they're in the midst of this world, that they're in the midst of this dream, that they're in the midst of this adventure. And that's sort of the angle they're going for, and it ended up working really well for that. That's a lot of positive space. And of course, I mean, negative space. And this is a lot of positive space. When you want to focus on things. Again, most wedding photography could have, some of them can be that, but most of them are going to be mostly positive because you want to focus on the couple. So mostly positive photography is, well, generally the most popular type of photography there is because it's the easiest way to show what you want to focus on, right? It's difficult to focus on the sky and try and put the subject in just the right place and at the right time. You can practice that, but you'll realize real quick, for example, that moon, you need an expensive camera or like that new Samsung AI thing on their phones to be able to capture the moon. The thing is, when you take photos of the moon, you will realize no matter how much you zoom in, it's tiny because the moon is actually tiny. It's way over there. The only reason we see the moon, right, as big, especially on the horizon, you know, those days when the moons look big, is because our eyes adjust to it. Our eyes home in on the moon, and eyes are amazing. Cameras see the whole thing, and it's like, it's really this small. So, because in reality it is, you know? And you would have to focus the camera so much to be able to capture the moon, you know? So it's difficult sometimes to try and use negative space, show all the negative space and then the moon or something. You have to focus on the moon. You have to really, really get rid of a lot of things. It's really, and if you ever seen like, oh wow, look at that moon photo and the airplane and blah, blah, blah. A lot of them, I'm talking like 95% of them, are fake. Okay? They shot the moon, they shot the city, and then they photoshopped it together. That's called digital art, and technically that is not called photography. Some people call it digital photography just to make it both. But just to let you know, we're not practicing that. We're not merging photos together. We're not copy pasting. We're not changing and making stuff up as we go. We are a photographer taking photos as it was, and we make enhancements. That's the difference. We can remove acne, we can enhance things, we can maybe remove a dust. We remove imperfections, but we don't create new items as much as possible into the photo, right? All right, this is just a show. Look for patterns. If you guys ever have taken math class growing up, and you hate math or love math, I don't know what you are, but if you are looking at math class, the reason you take math is for patterns. I know it seems like, oh, we're learning formulas and we have to memorize formulas and practice formulas and then take tests on knowing formulas. The reason we teach formulas, please take math classes seriously, is to learn how to recognize patterns like formulas, is to learn what to see, is to train our brain to see patterns. Use that gift that you practice to, when you see something, when you see something through a camera, look at the pattern of lines. Look at the pattern that it shows. Look what the nature, look what the architect, look where all of the position is showing you. The road lines, the window lines, the window blinds, the shape of the person, the shape of the dishes, the placement of the pillar or the column, where the light casts a shadow, and the angle of the shadows. Look for patterns and how to show the pattern in a cohesive way that our eyes can follow easily. You see, we are always looking for patterns, naturally. Just even this. You're like, whoa, that's a cool photo. It's a cool photo because it's a pattern. It's just staircases. You never see a staircase and go like, that's a cool, like, this staircase, I love stairs, stairs are my favorite thing. Maybe. But the reason, these kind of ramps and staircases, these type of this photo works is because of the pattern that we normally don't recognize, right? It's like, wow, look at this place. Some of you guys are like, I want to walk there. As if walking stairs is cool. But you want to do that because of what it's showing and how cool it is. And they're trying to show these little things. All right, because of the time, I wanted to go over the photos, but we'll do that next time. Assignments. So we're gonna take 5 photos. We're not gonna go online and choose anything. No, we're gonna take 5 different photos, okay? So number 1, we're gonna take a photo of a person, kind of like what I did. Take many photos and pick one, okay? Pick your favorite one. I want you to practice trying to tell the story of this person, okay? Obviously you guys are in Afghanistan. Hey, I'm in the United States. Show me people of Afghanistan. Don't risk your life and go to like a public area you're not allowed to go. I mean like your family, your friends, or with people that you meet on a daily basis. Go ahead, ask them permission, right? And then take some photos of themselves and have them pose for something, not just, don't just be an accidental photographer. Like, ooh, that looked cool. No, intentionally pose them, intentionally place them, intentionally stand in different places. Practice, take 100 photos, 200 photos if you have to, right? But practice. And then of course, the other one is I want one people photo. That means more than one person. So one person photo and one more than one person photo. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5 people, like the family at the dinner table, or watching TV, or trying to cook, or whatever it is. Go ahead and take a photo of people, have them pose a little bit, change a little bit. By the way, posing doesn't necessarily mean like, hey, mom, can you get over here? No, she could be there, but she could be like, hey, can you just turn a little bit this way? And that makes all the difference, just a little bit. And then I want you guys to take one sunrise or sunset photo. This doesn't have to be outside and then you take the photo to the sunset. I mean one sunset photo as in like, it could be through the window, but it is a sunset. So if it's around the sunset or before the sunset, that means there's a strong shadow cast, right? So I want you guys to play with the color of the sunset and what the sunset reveals. Does it reveal an amazing nature? Does it reveal something in your home that you usually don't get to see? Does it highlight something in your home? I want you guys to use the sunset. You guys can take a photo of an amazing sunset right from outside your house or through your window. That's fine. But I want you guys to show me what the sunset looks like and what the sunset reveals. Show me a story of some kind. All right, and then one low light of anything or anyone, something in the low light. It could be a city, it could be an apple, it could be your coffee cup, it could be your pencil and your workspace. Whatever it is, show me one something that where you're using low light, where it's dark and you're using one little light source, okay? And then of course, one contextual photo. I want you guys to tell me some kind of a story. This one can be just anything, low light, bright, stars, whatever. But one thing where it's about you or someone and what they're about. Tell me some kind of a story. I know some of you guys are eager to tell certain type of stories. Like for example, you know what I think would be an amazing photo that I can even share with my friends is maybe some of you study. Go ahead and use a timer on the phone and place it, and then you're gonna make a few mistakes. Oh, I cut off my head or something. But go ahead and place somewhere, take a photo of maybe you using a laptop and struggling with Zoom. Maybe you studying, right, in your room in the dark, and then there's just like a lamp around you. And then we can see you studying in this kind of environment. I don't know what environment you're in. Some of you guys are in earthquake areas. Use that to your advantage. I know it's a sad situation and challenging situation, but you can take amazing photos and tell that story to others, and then you can also look back at it. Circumstances always change, and you can always look back at the circumstances and be like, wow, those were tough times, and be encouraged by it. Photos do a lot of things, but whatever it is, contextual. Maybe if you guys can, I don't know, maybe top of the building, or I don't know what's safe or not safe, so don't do it if it's not safe, but maybe out on the mountain and you guys are doing this, and someone's taking a photo of the view and you just doing this, right? So the freedom, right? Whatever story you want to say, please pose it. This is a different kind of photography. It's not a snapshot photography where you go, or street photography, where you just go around and see what you can catch, which by the way is a photography. I do that all the time. But this one is an intentional photography. You're gonna create a scene, all right? You're gonna make up a story to tell, like a movie, all right? And you're gonna upload these photos to that link. And again, those are available on Edsten, all right? Any questions? Sorry, I will do better on the front of, whoops, I think I pressed the wrong button here. I will do better on some of the technical stuff as well as the timing, because we weren't able to rehearse this beforehand. All of the equipment is here and it's really quite the mess. But anyways, so if you guys need to leave, you guys can leave. Please go to the Edsten and check everything. Some of you, I noticed, mentioned on the survey that you prefer other formats than Zoom, because Zoom is difficult to use. But I want to mention, please learn to work with Zoom. Please learn to make Zoom work and deal with the problems, because in my experience, my work all around the world right now has all been Zoom. People still use Zoom as a worldwide standard, so it's good to learn how to deal with Zoom. Even here, whenever I have a client or something and we talk, I haven't met, actually I met one person that said, hey, do you use Google Hang or Google Meet? That was only one, but everybody else said the same thing, let's Zoom. So please get used to Zoom, all right? And with that said, just letting you know, you guys can go. You guys can leave, but if you have questions or you have something to say, please, I'll be here. I'll be sticking around, so go ahead and put it on the chat or put it on the audio. I'll be here a few more minutes. And while you guys are there, and I know it'll take a few seconds for things to come back, yeah. So I might just stand here and talk by myself and not answer your question until things come. Were you guys able to see the screen share? No questions, great, thank you. Okay, excellent, thank you, you were able to see. The reason I asked is because apparently I'm not sure if Nyan did it or I did it, but someone put this on the spotlight, and I don't know if spotlight means, you know, you don't get to see. Alright, great, if you guys are leaving, bye. If you guys have any more questions or anything like that, again, stick around. And when you guys do these assignments, I hope you guys learn something. Again, photography is an art form, and it's a lot like life. That's why I think people use photography a lot, is you have to plan and prepare for opportunities. And when the opportunities come, you're ready. Like sunsets. Did you guys know sunset? What you're gonna realize is it only lasts about 20 minutes. So you only have like 20 minutes to prepare everything and take a shot. So if you have to spend, like if we are taking photos of the sunset, in my case, we are there about 3 hours before. And we prepare for the sunset. And then when the sunset comes, we have all kinds of technical problems right then and there. And then we try to have backups and things, and we try to take everything as possible. Sunset will not wait for you because you have a problem, right? And I think that's a lot like life. A lot of times opportunities come and go. And if you're not ready for it, right, it's gone. It will come back again, but you missed this one. And opportunities sometimes don't seem like they're gonna come, but they do. State of world affairs change all the time. And you have to be ready when the opportunity comes. So always be preparing, always be studying, always be working. And when the opportunity comes, that one shot you take, it's gonna be amazing. What about photos that we have uploaded? Don't you give us suggestions? Okay, yeah, I was supposed to do that, but the timing didn't work out. I was gonna do it live, but I will put the comments in. Yeah, I will go over it today and then I give you guys comments. For the most part, they're all really, really great. I will say a few things. The ones that you guys take these amazing black and white photos. I'm here to tell you, black and white photos are actually kind of hard. And some of you guys did a really, really great job. Try to take color first. It's good to have black and white, but do take color, because black and white is difficult to make color again. You have to manually color it and it will never be color again. But you can always take a color photo and convert it to black. And you always want that color available, just in case for the future. So I would suggest, because we're practicing, please take color photos, get in a lot closer, okay? To just show me what you're gonna focus on. Like I said, tell me a quick story and not a whole novel. Okay, I want the quick and dirty, get to the point photos. All right, try and, like I said, if it's just 2 subjects, take just those 2 and try and not to take so much of the background. If the background is the thing, try and take a lot of the negative space. But it's hard to make the positive person the subject correct. But make sure it's balanced. More rule of thirds. I saw one photo with a bunch of people in it. Again, if it's a bunch of people, it may be best if you zoomed in and then took in 5 different photos of different sections of people. That would tell more of a series of photo of story than one what's going on photo. You know what I mean? All right, goodbye, everybody. Yeah, great. And then, but that's generally what I've noticed. But again, I will go over. And let me screenshot your name here so that I can at least, since you asked for it, I will get more into it. All right. And oh, and I'm also gonna give comments, I think, to the ones that you took. The ones from the past, some of you guys might not even remember what position you were in, so but the past photos are some of your favorites, and most of them, oh my goodness, they're amazing looking, so I'm not gonna comment on those, but I will comment on the ones that you took and uploaded and put the videos for. Not all of you guys put videos, so it was hard to see the context of it, but other than that, it was, for the most part, really, really great, guys. It was awesome assignment. But this time, I want you to spend a little more time on the assignments and a little more practice on lights. I want you to be frustrated. If you're frustrated with lighting and positioning and composition, good. If it makes you feel like you're not a good photographer, I hope that that's a normal feeling, especially when you're starting and you get frustrated and you feel like giving up. Don't give up, all right? Go ahead and face the challenges and at least get one commercial ready photo. If it's for yourself, again, it doesn't matter what it looks like. The better it looks, the better it looks. Like if it's for yourself, it doesn't matter. But if you want it to commercially look, or you want it to put on Instagram and you want others to see it and appreciate it, you are gonna have to put some thoughts into your photo and make sure something others want to see, right? If you're making a TV show, you don't just make a TV show, like you don't spend that time and money just making a TV show. You want viewers, right? You want people to see your story. I mean, as a matter of fact, what's the point of writing a story if no one watches? So you have to kind of give, right? You have to have your originality, but you also have to make it interesting to the audience. So that's the difficult part to do, right? Disney has been really bad at that lately. You know, they just keep making what the audience wants, and they just make Star Wars. It just Marvel. But they have run out of some of the original stuff that Disney did. So yeah, goodbye. People are saying bye. Thank you, thank you. And I'm really happy to do this. If you guys have any questions, great. If you guys want to email me at any time, please do. I think I'm about to get a different email, so I'll hand that to you. But for now, you guys can put it on the Edson discussion or, like I said, on these chats at LEGO, all right? Really, really happy to be here. Really, really happy you guys are here. And everybody else is still here. Okay, hi, yeah. All of you guys that are still here, well, do you guys have any questions? You guys can all leave. You guys are dismissed. I'll see you guys next week. And next week is the last one, so please spend time on this assignment because next week there's no assignment because this is it. Next week's workshop is done. However, if you guys want to take more photos after the workshop and get my opinions and stuff, again, you guys can still email me, right? Okay. Thank you. I hope you guys have a good night as well. All right, people are beginning to leave. Awesome, awesome. You get, again, you guys are all dismissed. I'm just hanging out so that I don't leave anyone behind. I'm hoping that like maybe some of you guys have questions but have internet problems and you guys are just logging back on or something. Yeah. And so again, I apologize for the audio. We've been having issues, but we have managed to get something working and I hope it worked. And I am gonna have to debug this. Why? Oh, okay, it's cold. Maybe it doesn't like me attaching it and having the cable go through. Maybe it doesn't like that. Maybe it overheats because it has to do two different screens. It has to stream one and then, I don't know, it's something that I'm gonna to test, but the first time that has happened around here. So always expect trouble and then try and have everyone. Everyone is waiting for me to leave. Okay. Okay. If everyone's waiting for me to leave, I'm just gonna say goodbye. And really, really, I hope you guys really love taking photos and sharing them with me. If you guys have Instagram, please let me know. All right, so I'm going to leave then. All right, goodbye, everybody. You guys have a really, really good one.